Before a wildfire arrives is the time to learn your equipment, not during an emergency. In this complete training guide, FireBozz inventor Rod Szasz walks through everything you need to know about the FireBozz Magnum and FireBozz Mini systems. From assembly and setup, to deployment, safety checks, operating configurations, and real-world deployment examples, this video brings together the complete instructional series into one easy-to-follow training resource. Whether you're protecting critical infrastructure, commercial property, or preparing for wildfire season, this guide will help you understand how to properly deploy FireBozz systems. Let's get started. First, Rod introduces both FireBozz systems and explains where each one is best suited.
Hi, I'm Rod Szasz. I'm the inventor and founder of the FireBozz Rapid Deploy Water Delivery System. I'd like to take some time today to explain the usage of both the FireBozz Magnum and the FireBozz Mini water delivery systems. The FireBozz Magnum is a water delivery system for establishing large wet lines over vast areas, and it's primarily designed for firefighters or large commercial operations. The FireBozz Mini is more of a homeowner application usage or smaller commercial operations. Both of them are capable of doing more or less the same thing. They deliver water. The FireBozz Magnum will deliver it at a radius of around 125 to 200 feet, and the FireBozz Mini will deliver it at a radius of 70 to 120 feet. Both units can be set up very, very quickly with very little instruction, and they can be daisied together to create large wet lines. The extent of those wet lines really is only limited by pressure and water flow. As long as you have water, and as long as you have pressure, you just keep going forever with the system.
Before deployment, it's important to understand the supplied fittings, thread standards, and interchangeable nozzle options that allow FireBozz to adapt to different water sources.
Each FireBozz comes shipped with all legs attached, with the head already in place. The only thing that you need to add to it are the adapters, which will change according to your regional thread size. So consult the fire departments as to what thread type you're using, whether that, for example, is NSPH, NH, or MPT. Each FireBozz ships fully assembled with national pipe tapered threads on both ends, including a brass with a stainless ball valve on the end. MPT allows you to adapt it to whatever water source or thread size that you want, going from MPT to, in this case, NH hose fitting, and in this case, MPT also to NH hose fitting, which allows you to thread according to most 2.5-inch fire hoses in the Western continental United States. The Mini here has been produced with MPT threads here, MPT valve, and we've got an adapter here going from MPT to NH thread. This here has been manufactured with MPT, and we have a female swivel coming out from MPT going to NH swivel to attach to 1.5-inch fire hose, as is commonly used in Western North America. FireBozz is also shipped with a standard thread with nozzle attachments going from 0.4 inches to 0.65 inches. You're able to specify which ones you would like. You're also able to change these nozzles rather easily. They're only hand tightened. Bring it off. Switch the nozzle that you want. Put it in and put it back. You know, one thing that you might want to keep in mind is that if you don't have enough pressure, what'll happen is this will hit up against here and it'll just keep going, but it doesn't have enough pressure to push this head around and flip it. So
Gotcha.
It'll just stop, right?
Gotcha.
So that's not a design issue. It's a pressure problem issue, right? Because they're designed to be utilized with 70 psi or more, ideally between 70 and 100 psi. Each FireBozz ships in this current configuration for storage with the legs up. It is fully assembled except for the various adapters, which are used to adapt to your water source and thread sizes according to your region. In the case right now, we're currently in the Western United States, where they use NH thread for most fire applications. It can also be adapted to national pipe tapered because it already comes with national pipe tapered. It can also be used for steel pipe thread as well, which is used on wildland firefighting, or forestry quarter turns as well. Basically, you can put any adapter that you want on there.
Next, Rod demonstrates how to unfold, secure, and properly configure the FireBozz Magnum for safe operation.
Once you receive your FireBozz unit and you want to use it, you'll have to take the pins out, lower all the legs first of all, Once all the legs are down, then you can start to secure the legs in place by placing the pins in. Lift up with one hand on the end. Put the pin in on the outside of the leg and feel for the hole. It should naturally slide in. Some of the ones that are newly manufactured have laser drilled holes. They may be a little tight, may need a little bit of lubricant, but usually they go in fairly easily. If you have to jiggle it a little bit, that also sometimes works as well. Make sure that all pins are locked for your own safety, that they do not come out. And we do the same on the front here, lifting the front with one hand, grabbing, letting the legs fall naturally into place, and then finding the holes naturally.
Different terrain requires different setups. Here you'll learn how various leg configurations affect stability, spray height, and deployment options.
Alternatively, if we want to lower the center of gravity because we're on unstable ground or there's an issue with pressure, we can also use the legs at a lower configuration where the center of gravity is dropped down even lower.
Now, how would a pressure issue impact that, Rod?
Well, you just have a lot with more pressure. You'd have more oscillation. More oscillation means more vibration. You might want to basically be more stable. Otherwise, in this configuration, we can also utilize it to elevate the head. So we can have it shooting up at a higher angle in this kind of configuration if we need to. It will shoot up higher on this end. It will shoot lower on that end, however, so be aware of that. That's important, and it's sometimes a consideration when you're trying to shoot over top of buildings or on top of high structures. Taking the pins out, going to continue. Locking the pins again. And now we have it configured lower on the ground. We can then, if necessary, use the leg extensions to gain greater control or fulcrum effect to make sure that that the unit is more anchored securely. If the ground is soft, feel free to step on the end to drive it into the ground. That will secure it more.
Learn when to use full circle coverage and when a directional spray pattern provides better protection.
Now I'd like to demonstrate the beveled angle for 180-degree technique. In this case, what we're doing is we're going to change one side to be higher than the other because we want the head to shoot up higher. When it's in the bevel configuration, you now have it shooting higher on this side for 180 degrees. Shoots lower on this side, shoots higher on this side.
Okay. Any advantage to, like, this one is kind of horizontally and it's beveled this way versus the other one, it was beveled more vertically with this in the back. Yeah,
so it's sitting like this.
Yeah. Any advantage or disadvantage to doing it either way?
Yeah, if it's 180 degree, this is one way to use it. The other one is to keep the back legs lower, heighten the front ones. This one may be a consideration when you want your hose lays to be straight in line with one another. So there's another FireBozz unit up here, another FireBozz unit down there. If it's directly in line with the hoses will feed straight into it, right?
Yeah.
If I use it on the other configuration, like, I'll show you. If we use it on this configuration for 180, which is more stable, like this is a way more stable position for 180, then if we daisy them together, then you have to bring your hose in, Ray, like because let's say the next one's over there, they're all pointing this direction. So the hose has to go out, S, and then come back in. S, and then come back in, which is okay, right? So if If you're on a hillside, this is more stable than the other one on the side, right?
Gotcha.
You can also lower this a little bit too, right? Same configuration, shoots higher on one side than the other, but it's a little bit lower. So even though there's only essentially 2 pin placements on every leg, the configurations are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 8 different configurations of this thing. Now, that does not apply to the FireBozz Mini, though, because the FireBozz Mini must and always be used with all of the legs deployed in one configuration and with the extenders always put out, right?
Rod now demonstrates proper setup of the FireBozz Mini, including leg positioning and stability requirements unique to the Mini platform.
So, FireBozz Mini ships in similar configuration with the legs up for storage purposes. It comes with a MPT ball valve, stainless steel, and MPT threads on both ends. In this case, we've put adapters on it to adapt it to NH thread sizes, which is commonly used in the Western United States as firefighting thread for 1.5" purposes. When you receive the FireBozz and you want to set it up, take it out of the box like this, assuming you have your adapters in it that you've put in to adapt to the hoses which you want to utilize. Take all the pins out, lay the legs down. After laying all the legs down, unlike the FireBozz Magnum, as long as it's flat, you're able to slide the pin in through it because the legs are slightly raised off of the ground, right? So you don't need to lift this up on these ones. You actually lift the leg up because the leg is high, right? And you can feel it there. So, yeah. Again, lift the leg up and feather it through. Okay. Once that is done, all of the leg extenders need to be extended.
And why is that, Rod?
Because for stability purposes, this is a smaller unit. It's under essentially as much pressure as that one. It needs to be super stable. The way to do that is to lower the center of the gravity at all times and have as wide of a leg spread as you possibly can in order to anchor the unit.
Both FireBozz systems allow flexible spray coverage. This section explains how to configure each unit for different operational needs.
The FireBozz Magnum and the FireBozz Mini can be used in both full circle, meaning 360-degree rotation, or partial circle, meaning any arc thereof of a 360-degree circle. So let's say, for example, we want to use the FireBozz Magnum here in this current setup here, which is a beveled setup. We want to use it at 180 degrees. We would set the stays here for 180 degrees. We would tighten them down. Always make sure that they're tight, because if they're not, then it won't do what you want it to do. And then FireBozz Magnum will shoot in that arc.
Okay. Can you do a 360 for us?
Sure. And if it's a 360, what we need to do is, in this case, we just take the stays off, which are pretty easy to do. Take the stays off. And then it just rotates around whichever way it happens to be set up, whichever side the vane is on. If the vane is on this side, it'll go this way. That's not really a consideration or important for anybody. It'll just keep going around. However, if you do that, remember, when you put the stays back on, you need to put them back on. Again, which is pretty easy. You need to put them on with the arrows here pointing towards the lever, arrow towards the lever all the time, right? So
there's the arrow.
Yeah,
there's the lever.
Right. So we want to make sure that
Lever
we're on
looks
the right side.
Grass.
No,
color?
levers. This is the lever here. This is like a turn style. So here we go. So you can see, you can just turn it like this till most of the slack comes in off of it, right? Then you tighten it. Always check that they're tight before you. So
And now we're back to 180 degree.
That's right. Now we're back to
Spray
180 degrees, right?
Angle.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the FireBozz Mini, FireBozz Mini is a little bit simpler. These stays will naturally, if you loosen them off, they will naturally fall down and the head will rotate 360 degrees. If you bring them up, it will then rotate in an arc, which you set it at. In this case, I'm going to set it at roughly 170-degree arc. We have a trip lever here. Trip lever hits that side, puts back. Trip lever hits this side, goes back. Trip lever hits this side. Okay. So if we want a 360 again, very easily, drop these, loosen them, drop them down, spins 360.
Learn how water flows through the system and how multiple FireBozz units can be connected together to create continuous wet lines.
Each FireBozz unit comes with a brass valve with a stainless ball valve inside of it. When you get them, they may or may not already be attached depending upon the size of the model in which you're purchasing. With a FireBozz Magnum, they are usually attached. With the FireBozz Mini, they are usually not attached because of packaging purposes. We want to keep it small for shipping purposes. When you want to turn this on, it is utilized to supply the next FireBozz in line and can be turned off if you want to turn it off so that you can localize the use of the FireBozz units. And many of them can be then utilized and daisied together according to your needs. Make sure that you turn and refit. Some of these are, because it's the stainless ball inside of a brass housing, it can be sometimes hard to turn, right? So just be aware of that. Once you get it going, though, it's pretty easy. It's just getting that cracking the initial valve that's hard. Here, same for the Magnum here. Yeah, it's a bit. There we go. Yeah. But it's a stainless steel valve, stainless steel ball valve, so it should last basically forever.
Proper operating pressure and nozzle selection directly affect system performance. Rod explains the recommended operating ranges and nozzle options.
FireBozz is an incredibly robust unit. It's manufactured with 1/4 inch aluminum tubing, and it is double welded on the inside and the outside of the manifolds themselves. Each unit is tested up to 3 times more the working pressure. So we tested them up to 600 PSI, and we have also conducted non-destructive testing with them at an outside institution, and we've run the internal manifold pressure up to 1200 PSI. We recommend utilizing them at between 70 and 120 PSI and not running them for extended periods of time over 120 PSI. FireBozz Magnum comes with aluminum nozzles. They're interchangeable, different sizes, so you can either neck down or neck up according to water delivery requirements. Same with the FireBozz Mini. They come from typically 7 mil to 14 millimeters in size, so that you can also adapt them to your water requirements.
FireBozz systems have been deployed during major wildfire incidents. Rod shares several examples where these systems helped protect critical assets and infrastructure.
Some of the track record and successes that these units have had when they've been directly threatened by radiant heat and embers is they have been deployed to save the city of Yellowknife. They were used to defend a major Inter-4 sawmill worth $600 million, which they were very successful at doing, when everything around that sawmill burned for miles around. In the western edge of Jasper, they protected the western tip of the city, basically preserving the only small part of that western community called Stone Mountain Village, which had 11 of the larger FireBozzes and 3 of the small Magnums. When the smoke had cleared, the area where the Magnums and Minis had been deployed, everything behind that was still preserved. Where the FireBozz line ended, everything beyond that was burned. We also, a number we used during the Palisades fire that were deployed from Northern California that came down, and they were used to protect several major assets and structures in the Malibu area, including the Malibu Jewish Synagogue and Community Center.
This section covers hose connections, recommended spacing, and deployment layouts for creating effective wet lines.
Each FireBozz can be connected with your standard fire hose, with a commercial grade hose that's tested at very high pressure, or forestry hose, which is used in wildland forest firefighting. In this case, it's very simple. With your adapter, in this case, we're using an N8 thread. We just simply attach the fire hose to the inlet. Make sure it's tightened. We can use our spanners for that. And then we just continue on and we daisy to the next one, depending on how far we want them apart. On average, we want them at least 200 feet apart. That may change depending upon the nature of the fire threat that we're utilizing this for. If it's for a ground fire, or if it's for a high load fire of some kind, we may want them closer together, maybe as close as 50 feet. If it's a wildland fire event where there's embers coming, we probably want them at least 200 feet apart from each other. And we want the downwind moisture to cover the area between the two units as much as we possibly can. But the great advantage of this is that it's easily changeable. You can move these units around, stretch them into different areas in a very short period of time. So if you set up a configuration that you do not think is the best configuration for fighting the wildland fire threat that you have before you, you can always change it very easily and within minutes.
Before charging the system with water, every deployment should include a complete safety inspection. Rod walks through each critical step.
All FireBozz products utilize water under pressure, and as a result, it's incredibly important that you wear personal protective equipment in the usage and the setup, in the setup and the usage of the FireBozz systems. Starting with gloves, which are very, very important for putting the legs down and finessing the units into different positions. Protective eye protection in order to eye protection, hard hat, and of course protective steel-toe boots for protection of your feet. It's also important that when you're setting them up and when you're starting to charge the line to run these, that you do a final check on everything. The final check will include checking the pins, that the pins are locked on each leg. So check 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, all those are locked. We check our connections, make sure that the connections are in and they're safe. Okay, oh, this one's not as tight as we wanted it to be. Okay, we tighten that up. If we have to, we use a spanner to tighten that. Do the same to here. Make sure that the valve configurations are where we need. Do we want it turned off or do we want it turned on? Make sure that you know where it is. If you've got a long line, make sure the last one is turned off. Make sure that you have it pointing the right direction. That's really important. So go and look and see where it's going to point ultimately. Then check the stays. Are they locked? Are they secure? Are they tight? If they're loose, that's no good. Rotate. Pops. Good. Looks good. Make sure the orifice is clear. There's nothing blocking the way. Go down all along the line, check all that, check for the stability of the unit as well. And then once you've done that and you're running water, run water into the system very slowly at first. Once the line and the units are charged, then you can increase the pressure gradually up to what you need to have it. We recommend running the FireBozz Rapid Deploy water system at between 70 and 120 PSI. Once you've supplied water to the FireBozz Rapid Deploy water system and you have the pressure and the flow desired in the system, make sure that you and all ground personnel are removed away from the area so that you're not hit by any high pressure stream. Remember, water acting under pressure can be a very dangerous thing. Always stay at least 50 to 60 feet away from the heads and of themselves, and never attempt to move a FireBozz unit when it is running and under pressure. Never pick up the legs, and ideally never touch the head as well.
Finally, Rod demonstrates how multiple FireBozz units are connected together to build a scalable wildfire defense line.
Okay, we're going to demonstrate now how to daisy FireBozz units in configuration that stretches out to produce a long, wet line. In this case, once we've decided that what your water source is, it could be a hydrant, it could be a portable pump, it could be a fire truck, or it could be coming off of an industrial charge system at a plant. Once you have your water source, you plug in your hose. In this case, it is the FireBozz Magnum. It's 2.5 inch. You tighten it. You want it tight, we'll be using our spanner wrenches to tighten that. That goes off to your water source. For the purposes of demonstration, we're going to be necking down here from 2.5 inch to 1.5 inch. And we're going to be plugging in the other unit, which is 1.5 inch. There we go. And this now, the 1.5 inch now goes to the FireBozz Mini. It could go to a Mini, it could go to a Magnum, but in this case, we're using a Mini. Tighten that off. Also can use our spanner. Since this is the end of our dead end line, we want to make sure that the valve is closed. In this case, it's off because it goes against. It's running perpendicular to the water stream. We want to make sure that this one is on so that water flows through the system from this unit to that unit. So we'll make sure that this is cracked. And now once we've done our safety checks, as previously explained, we're able to run our system, right? So that's how you daisy them together. And this system can go on and on and on.
Proper planning and preparation are key components of wildfire readiness. We hope this complete training guide has given you a better understanding of how FireBozz systems are configured and deployed. If you'd like to learn more about FireBozz equipment, wildfire readiness strategies, or schedule a personalized demonstration, visit joinfirebreak.com. You can also book a 15-minute Zoom consultation with our team to discuss your facility, property, or wildfire preparedness goals. Thanks for watching, and remember, It's better to be prepared a year early than a day late.